you're ready. Round one. Fight!
Heading into Street Fighter VI, the developer was in a very different position from the one it had found itself in the lead up to Street Fighter V's release. With the latter released in 2016 and was met with mixed responses and loud backlash from a significant portion of the player base, it was just another game in what had been a long line of disappointments over a prolonged period of time for the developer. Now fast forward to 2023, and when Street Fighter VI was met with widespread acclaim from critics and players alike, it was yet another notch in the belt for a company that had enjoyed several recent years of roaring critical and commercial success with a number of games year over year. But Street Fighter VI is, by its very nature, not a one-and-done type of game. A new fighter releasing in 2023 was obviously always going to look at its launch as not only the end of one long journey, but also the beginning of another long road. Consistent ongoing live service is implied with any major new fighter, especially a new mainline Street Fighter game. So, with Street Fighter VI approaching its 1-year anniversary, how exactly has the latest entry in the flagship fighting franchise fared? Has the game done a good job of capitalizing on its universal initial success, or has it instead fumbled and tripped over a series of mistakes? Well, as always, there's no black or white answer here, with the truth falling somewhere in the middle, but all things considered, it's fair to say that things have gone pretty well for Street Fighter VI in its first post-launch year.
Round one. Fight!
There have, of course, been some points of contention over the last year that the fanbase has been vocal with its displeasure about. Chief among them, perhaps, is the aggressive monetization model that the developer has adopted with the game. For whatever reason, the fighting genre is rife with baffling aggressive microtransactions for in-game cosmetics. And just like other recent releases like Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken 8, Street Fighter VI goes a bit overboard in this area. Prices for cosmetics are ridiculously high, especially if you want outfits for the entire roster. And things are only made worse by the fact that the developer only lets you buy the in-game currency in increments that don't match the value of the purchases you'll be making in the in-game store, which means you're often likely to end up spending more than you needed to on currency. Where microtransactions and cosmetics are concerned, Street Fighter VI employs a number of textbook scummy methods designed to push players into spending more of their money, which is something that the game has rightfully attracted plenty of loud criticism for. Whether or not this is something that the developer will actually look into to fix in the future, that remains to be seen. But thus far, a year into its light, it's safe to say that Street Fighter VI's microtransactions have been a noticeable blemish on its otherwise strong reputation. Of course, the game does have some issues beyond its microtransactions, but none of them have necessarily been too controversial with the community. As is the case with pretty much every fighter out there, not every change or tweak that Street Fighter VI makes with its patches and updates proves to be a popular one, while you'll also find a not insignificant number of people who will tell you that the cadence of post-launch DLC releases for the game has been far slower than it would have been ideal, but all things considered, Street Fighter VI's post-launch period has been a success in all other major ways, beyond of course its monetization issues. For starters, even though the game's cadence of post-launch updates hasn't pleased everyone in the community, it has nonetheless added its fair share of content following its release. From cosmetics to new fighters, so far 4 new fighters have been released in the form of Rashid, AKI, Ed, and Akuma, while the game also had collaborations with Exoprimal, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Monster Hunter, in addition to having added multiple new sets of outfits for all of its characters, new music tracks and options, and more than that. Suffice to say that post-launch support for Street Fighter VI has, at the very least, been sufficient. Could it have been a bit more abundant with new content, especially in comparison to something like, say, Street Fighter V? Well, sure, it absolutely could be. But then again, Street Fighter VI started out in a significantly stronger position than its predecessor did, so it isn't surprising that its post-launch efforts haven't been as aggressive as its predecessors were, because, plainly put, they don't need to be. Which brings us to our next point, that all of this post-launch stuff is obviously built on the stellar foundations of the base game itself. 2023 was an incredible year for games and has already gone down in history as having one of the medium's strongest ever annual lineups of all-time classics. Street Fighter VI is without a shadow of a doubt high in that list of games. With a Metacritic score of 92, the game is nothing short of a critical darling, while it has enjoyed plenty of acclaim from its wider player base as well. On Steam, for instance, at the time of writing, its user reviews rating on the platform over the last month is marked as mostly positive, with 76% of the reviews in that period having been positive. Its overall user review ratings on the platform since launch, meanwhile, it's very positive, with 86% of its 24,000 plus user reviews on Steam to date being positive. In addition to its critical acclaim, the fighter has also been a commercial success for the developer so far. As recently revealed by the company as of March 31st, being a handful of months shy of its one-year anniversary, Street Fighter VI had sold 3.3 million units worldwide across all platforms, which is a solid start for the game. Many modern games, especially the well-received ones, also tend to have incredibly long tails, so if Street Fighter VI follows that pattern, its sales are likely going to continue to climb in the coming months and years. Of course, that's built on the assumption that support for Street Fighter VI isn't going to slow down anytime soon. The developer recently wrapped up the game's Year 1 DLC with its 4th addition to the roster in the form of Akuma. Earlier in the year, however, the company also confirmed that it was working on a Year 2 DLC, in addition to more Battle Hub events, gameplay features, and more. Unsurprisingly then, new content for Street Fighter VI is in development, so the question now is how long it'll be before we know more about that in an official capacity. The coming weeks and months will be bringing with them a series of major gaming events and showcases, including Summer Games Fest, the Xbox Games Showcase, and, as per leaks, a PlayStation-focused event, so there's a good chance that the developer ends up picking any one of those as the stage to announce its plans for what the next year of Street Fighter VI is going to look like. Hopefully the company isn't going to take its foot off the gas anytime soon, because the fighter has followed up on an excellent launch with a largely solid first post-launch year, marred of course by some issues, chief among them being the aggressive microtransactions. Hopefully the developer will follow up on that with a second year that is, at the very least, just as good if not better. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.